to The Blotcha Show. My name is Chris. I'm your host, and you are listening to this week's episode of Storytime Friday.
Hey everybody, welcome. So this week is going to be a freestyle Storytime Friday. Basically meaning since I'm a storyteller, but I haven't been able to get a whole lot written yet. So I'm basically going to have an idea for a story that basically I haven't written down. So I'm just gonna basically freestyle it. So I hope you guys enjoy. This is episode 77. So, this week's Storytime Friday, now freestyle story, is called The Camping Trip. Michael and Margaret had been married for almost 20 years. Their kids are both teenagers, and they really hadn't been able to go on a whole lot of trips. Every time they got paid, it was pretty much all about making sure the bills got paid and keeping the roof over their head. It's not that they didn't want to go on trips. They definitely did. In fact, Michael was constantly working on stuff on the side in an attempt to basically work on his dreams and get himself out of his current 9-to-5 grind and being able to work from home full time. He'd been working on it for a while and really hadn't made much progress, but continued to work on it, telling himself that, he would only fail if he quit, gave up, and walked away. So he continued to work on it. Margaret, being a pastry chef, had been doing her line of work for many, many years, and although she loved it, it was taking a physical toll on her body. She had to see the doctor every couple months to get shots in her shoulder and in her side because of mystery pain that all the many doctors that she had seen that examined her and even had run a lot of tests hadn't been able to figure out why she was having the pain. Her dream had always been to open up her own food truck and be able to sell her own food recipes, not just desserts, but also regular entrees and stuff like that. But it was always an issue of capital. So just like her husband Michael, taking it day by day, week by week, leaving home during the day, going and doing his daily grind as a professional driver in an attempt to basically be the best provider for his family that he could. Margaret did the same thing with her job, leaving every day, being on her feet for 10 hours a day, dealing with shoulder pain because of rolling all the dough, and also dealing with the constant pain that there never seemed to be any relief or very little relief from. So Michael and Margaret were extremely excited when things happened in a way that they ended up having some extra money. And the first thing when they first got the money, they sat down together and they talked about it. Okay, so, all right, Michael said. So, what do you think we should do? Now, since we can breathe a little bit, we have a little bit of breathing room. What do you think we should do? Margaret, rested her head in her hand for a second, looking down at the table and thinking very hard. Well, I'm not sure. I'd kind of like to. I know I don't want to just pay bills with it. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that I don't want to just put it towards bills either. Michael said. Although we probably should put a little bit towards the bills, pay a little bit ahead, but I would like to at least feel, like it helped us a little bit. Maybe we could relax a little bit in some way. Margaret said. Do you mean like what do you think? Like, should we take some kind of vacation with it? Michael smiled. Yeah, I think that might be a good idea. Huh. All right. Margaret said. Yeah, let's. What do you think we should do? Like, where should we go? Well, Michael said. Like I don't know. Like, why don't we? Like we've never gone camping. Camping. Margaret said, looking at him funny with one eyebrow raised. Yeah, like what do you mean, like with the tents and all that? Well, Michael said, let's maybe like why don't we rent a motorhome, an RV or whatever, and we'll pack it up, we'll load it up with lots of food, and obviously we'll take our electronics, even though technically camping usually wouldn't have electronics. But I know we're not the camping crowd, camping kind of family, whatever. More like glamping, I guess. But could be fun still. We'll go find a campsite or whatever, and we'll just chill out for a weekend, and they can play on their devices, and I'll bring we'll bring a couple fishing poles, and because I want to fish, but I don't know if I doubt the kids would want to fish. Margaret kind of laughed. Yeah, you're probably right. I don't think they would want to fish. I couldn't see Riley and Lexi fishing at all, but who knows? They might. Michael laughed. Yeah, it's kind of what I figured. So hey, but they want to be on their devices anyway. So maybe maybe I'll just obviously we have to bring other food, because even if I'm fishing and catching us fish, I know you and I would eat it, but I don't think they would. Margaret laughed again. Yeah, you're probably right. Lexi would probably possibly eat some of the fish, but Riley and her, with how picky she is food wise, I couldn't see her doing it at all. They sat and just kind of sat in silence for a few minutes, and then Michael looked back up at Margaret with a little bit of a smile, and Margaret's like, "What?" Well, Michael said, I think we should do it. Like, what about like the next week? Like, because it's Monday right now. Why don't we go next week, and we'll leave on Friday, and we'll go to the campsite, and we'll just take a nice relaxing weekend or whatever. That sounds good, Margaret said. So Margaret took out a notepad and started taking some notes, writing down little details about what food items they're going to bring, and she asked Michael, of course, like, well, what do you need for as far as your fishing stuff? You already got your pole, or you already got the poles or whatever. Michael was like, well, I was like, the main thing is like some bait, and probably, I know a lot of times if you're on a boat, you would have like a stringer with you to put the fish on when you catch them. But, and he paused. But what? Margaret said. Well, like if I'm fishing from the shore, then really don't need a stringer. I guess we could just take a cooler, like a small cooler with us or whatever, and basically I could just fill it up with water from the lake, and as I catch the fish, I can just put it straight in there, and then we can clean them afterwards. And Margaret was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, we already got the cooler, so we'll just make sure to load that up in the motorhome when we we're getting ready to go. That sounds good, Michael said. So they continued taking down the notes, got all the snacks written down. She handed him the list really quick, like, Dad, would you check this over? Let me know what you think. And he looked at it. He goes, yeah, I think everything looks good. I can't think of anything that might be missing. And I'm sure being in a, if we need to, I'm sure, like, I know there's like a Walmart probably not far from that forest where the campsite is. I'm sure we could probably do a quick run over there if we have to grab some supplies or whatever. Yeah, that's right, Margaret said. I think that we could probably do that, but hopefully it'd be easier if we just made sure to have everything we needed. That way we could not have to worry about it. Michael's like, yeah, that's true. He got up and poured him and Margaret both a couple of drinks. A whiskey, my love? Oh, absolutely. Margaret said, man, it's been, I don't know about you, but I've been pretty stressed out lately and stuff. So this definitely, this glass of whiskey will certainly help. Michael laughed. Oh yeah, I hear you. Hell, right now I could probably down this whole bottle if I really felt like, if I really allowed myself to. Margaret was like, that bad, huh? Michael sighed. Yeah, my boss has kind of been a dick lately. Margaret was like, what do you mean? Like, what's going on? Michael sighed again. Well, you know how I'm supposed to be on a dedicated route, right? Margaret was like, yeah. Michael's like, well, um, that load got moved to a morning load, and my boss doesn't want to shift me to mornings to keep me on that run, so I've been being kept on the night schedule. And basically, I've been doing whatever. I haven't really been on anything set at night. I've been doing a load to this city over here to the east. I've been going south to this city, and I've been going to northern Kentucky load. And it's like some nights I'm getting really good miles, other nights I'm not. And you've already noticed some of the nights where I'm on standby the entire day, and then I end up basically not working at all. And so we're of course having the low paychecks. Margaret kind of sighed and looked away. She said, yeah, I've definitely noticed that, and it is kind of worrisome. I'm stressing out about that too. Michael's like, yeah, you're stressing out about it. Imagine how I feel. I mean, all I ever try to do, my biggest goal as your husband, as parents to our kids and stuff, is to always be the best provider I could possibly be. And on weeks where I lose a day or two, I feel like a failure. I feel like I'm letting you guys down. Michael looked away, tearing up for a minute. Margaret reached over, took his hand. Love it. It's fine. It's not your fault that your boss is kind of jerking you around. It's not your fault that your job is the things that are happening at your job are happening. That's not on you. It's just we'll be okay. We'll get through this. Michael sighed. Yeah, no, I'm basically just doing what I do best, and I'm doing what I always preach to people I talk to, just basically push it forward and taking it day by day, week by week, and telling myself that I only fail if I quit or give up and walk away, and so I refuse to do that. No matter how hard it is, I'm going to keep going. But that's part of why I enjoy my adult beverages on the weekend the way I do. Aaron, Margaret laughed and basically was like, "Yeah, I've noticed that you definitely love your drinks on the weekend for sure." Michael was like, "Well, yeah. I mean, can you blame me? I mean, look at the crap I have to deal with." And he took her hand. He's like, "But I know that it's not all about me. I know that you deal with stresses at work too. I know your job isn't exactly all kittens and rainbows either." Margaret laughed. Yeah, no shit. like, I mean, I've already told you all about, like, at my work, dealing with my boss, how I get paid this much per hour, and I do basically management type work, and I keep pushing for any kind of bump career-wise, like get a bump in pay, get more, take on a more of a official management role where I can make more money and actually, like, be more on equal pay footing with you, so that I can contribute more. Michael squeezed her hand. Love, I know that you want to do more, and it's, I don't blame you for, like, I know it is what it is. Like, I'm doing the best at my job, and I know that you can only work with your job as much as they'll work with you. Like, if they're not going to give you any more pay bumps. They're not going to, they give you all those excuses about, why it's not the budget for you to get a little bit of promotion. You're basically at a glass ceiling, and that's not your fault. That's just, it's sad the way that works. But I know that's why you're looking for a better job. Margaret, looked at him and was like, yeah, it is what it is. It's what we got to work with what we got. Michael's like, yeah, sadly, but don't worry, someday. I mean, how I'm working on those things on the side, because I'm definitely trying to replace what I'm currently doing and make it, open up options for us, like, get me off the road, being able to work from home full time, be able to spend more time with you guys, and to also, get you into things you want to do, like your food truck and stuff, and make those dreams a reality for you. Margaret smiled. Yeah, I really appreciate that, love, because I can't wait. Michael was like, yeah, I know you can't. I can't either. That's gonna be awesome. But in the meantime, all we can do is do our best with what we got and basically try to enjoy the time with the I'd say little ones, but they're not that little anymore. Margaret laughed. Oh no, they're definitely not. They're kids. Riley and Lexi. Lexi was 17. Riley was 14. Lexi was a senior in high school, and Riley was a freshman. Lexi and Riley were both very artistic. Both loved to make art projects out of random materials they would find. Sometimes Riley especially would like to go to Michael's with Michael to get some art supplies so that she could put some projects together. And she always talked about wanting to open up her own online store just to actually be able to sell her art projects. But where she ran into some issues was basically because a lot of the sites that you could create an online store to sell products, you had to be at least 18 to do it. And so she was very much looking forward to when she could turn 18 and actually have her own store online. Michael would always talk to her about how maybe he and mom would open up their own account online under their name, and basically let Riley sell her stuff on that site, and it would just be under Margaret and Michael's name, but it would technically be Riley's store, but it would be run that way so that it would technically have somebody over the age of 18 on the account, and then it would just be kind of be So Riley always was very excited whenever Michael would talk to her about that. Be like, well, hun, like we could always open a store online under me and mom's name and see what maybe we could do it that way. That way you could sell your stuff and it would be your store, but it would be under mom and I's name. And Riley would smile and laugh and be like, yeah, that'd be awesome, Dad. Like that'd be really cool. I really want to sell my stuff because I really I'm not old enough to get a regular job yet. I've been, I've applied at a few places, but they always tell me that I have to be 16 in order to work there. Some places it's freaking 18. I can't believe it, Dad. Michael will laugh. Yeah, it's but my love. One of these days, like how Dad's doing stuff on the side, trying to like build like a side income, right? Riley was like, yeah, what about it? Michael's like, well, like my goal is not just to build a side income for me, but I'm trying to find something that once I find something that works, that basically I can eventually replace what I'm currently doing. I want to get you and mom and your sister involved as well, so that way you guys can also be making money on the side too, and you can decide whether you want to work a regular job or not. Like if you want to work, that's fine. But I don't want you guys to work because you have to. I want you guys to work because you want to. Well, that sounds really cool, Riley said. But Dad, you don't want to work. I want to work a regular job, Dad, just to, even if just to get out of the house and want to, for a little bit or whatever. Michael laughed. Like, yeah, I know. It's just, it's a lot less stress when you can do that because you want to do it, but not because you have to just to survive. That's kind of my goal for you guys and stuff. Riley's like, well, Dad, and I know me and Sissy were both, we're both in the same boat. Like I think, Michael's like, what do you mean? Riley was like, well, me and Sissy have talked about it, about how, because we know that you want to give us the option to not have to work if we don't want to and make money on the side. Both of us have talked about how we'd still work a job because we'd be bored, so we'd still want to get out and work and be out and about. Michael was like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I would possibly still drive a little bit, like do part-time, like 1 or 2 days a week or something, just so that I'm doing something. But I would want to have the option to be home a lot more so I can work on things like starting to get in the gym and working on my health full time, which I can't really do right now because of I just don't have the time for it, aside from my 2 days off. And talking to your mother and stuff, I was telling her the other day that I don't want to just pay for a YMCA membership and only use it on my days off, because it just doesn't, it's, one, you're not really going to get in shape, just like the doing 2 days a week, and it doesn't make sense to pay that fee only to basically go there once in a while, So Riley was like, yeah, I know. Don't worry, Dad. I know you'll get there. I know you, because you've never quit on anything, and I know I know you're gonna get there. And then I know you're gonna help Mom get her food truck, and I'm gonna have my online store. And, I can't wait. Riley said as she grinned and kind of squealed with a little laugh. So Friday afternoon, after everybody got off school, Michael had already picked up the motorhome and had it parked out in front of their house, and they were loading up their stuff. Riley was bringing everything from blankets to teddy bears and random toys. And every time she made another trip into the motorhome carrying her stuff, Michael would look at her funny and say, she looks at him back like, what? He's like, why are you bringing that life-size teddy bear? What? Riley laughs. What's wrong with the life-size teddy bear? It's like, well, we're going on a kind of a camping trip, even though we're going to be in the motorhome, but I just don't understand. She said, what? I need my cuddle buddies. Michael's like, okay, I can't argue with you. So, of course, Lexi walking in with the same thing, basically some teddy bears and electronics and all sorts of other stuff. And as they both walked in there, Michael standing off to the side, basically girls, just keep in mind that there isn't really that much room. I mean, there's a lot of room, but there's it's gonna be a little more compact and tighter if we basically pack our entire bedrooms into this motorhome and stuff. Well, I know, only got a little bit more, Dad, Riley said as she ran back in to grab another armful of stuff. Yeah, me too, Lexi said as she ran back in. Michael just stood there, shook his head. Margaret was standing off to the side. She looks over at Michael, and Michael just glances at her and shakes his head, whatever. Margaret's like, hey, she shrugs. Michael's like, yeah, I don't know. The trip to the campground took approximately 4 hours to get to. On the way, Lexi and Riley were playing a game, basically where they were hollering out the names on different signs as they passed it. Soccer field! Lexi goes, that's not a sign. You just called out we're just passing a soccer field. Riley laughed, goes, so? I thought I'd change it up. I'm just call out some random thing. Lexi's like, so I should just holler out, tree! They both laughed. Riley's like, no, that doesn't count. Lexi's like, if you can call out soccer fields, I can call out a tree. They just both laughed, and of course, up front with Michael driving, he's just shaking his head again. Looks over at Margaret. Wow, the conversations those two have. Margaret laughs like, yeah, no crap. That's why I'm not saying anything. I'm just gonna let them have their time together, I guess. Michael was like, yeah, that's true. Ditch Witch! Riley was like, what? Lexi was like, Ditch Witch! At first, Riley was like, what are you talking about? Then as, a couple seconds later, Lexi was like, that sign that we just passed, it said Ditch Witch. Lexi was like, what the heck is a Ditch Witch? Lexi was like, well, I don't know. I mean, it had a picture of what looked like a lawnmower or something on it. And it just said Ditch Witch. The name it stood out so much that I thought, hey, so now if So I thought, hey, I'll call it out. Riley was like, okay, that's kind of weird, but all right, sissy, "Hey guys, we're looks like we're about there. Got another 5 minutes." Michael said as they continue down the highway. Sweet, they both yelled. Margaret reached over and took Michael's hand. I'm so excited. I'm kind of surprised at how excited I am to actually go on a camping trip here. I don't know why, because we've never gone on a camping trip, so like it doesn't make sense. Maybe because we haven't done it. Michael's like, I don't know. I'm kind of excited too, honestly. I think I just have a feeling it's gonna be fun. Just chilling out. We're in nature, but we're not actually sleeping on the ground. But I haven't fished in like 20 years, so maybe I'll have fun doing that. I'm not sure. Margaret was like, yeah. Michael kind of looked over at her with a grin. Margaret was like, what? Michael was like, so like you're the chef, so does that mean that if I catch the fish, you'll clean them? Margaret laughed. Well, duh. I don't think you're gonna clean them. Michael was like, I would if I knew how. They both laughed. Welcome to Boise Forest National Park. Campsite. 1.5 miles ahead. Woohoo, almost there, guys, Michael said. As they pulled into their space that was reserved for the motorhome to park in. He set the brake and stood up from his seat. All right, guys, let's make sure we put those I'm gonna go get the chocks out of the side box of the motorhome so that we can chalk the wheels just to make sure we don't have any issues like some of those movies we've seen where they think the motorhome is parked and all of a sudden the motorhome is rolling down the hill. So I'm gonna try not to do that. Yeah, it's probably a good idea, Margaret said. Although I could totally see that happening to us, Margaret said. Michael was like, shush. So they opened the side box and got all their stuff out. Got their lawn chairs, their little grill, little wood fire grill, blankets, a couple of coolers, and they all basically just, Michael and Margaret sat down in the chairs, popped up in a cold one, and just started sipping away while both the kiddos were still inside the motorhome, laying in their beds on their phones. Surprised. Michael looked over at Margaret. I'm kind of surprised, actually. Margaret was like, well, what about? Michael was like, well, honestly, like, I'm surprised that we have signal on our phones. Margaret was like, I didn't even know I didn't even see you looking at your phone. Michael was like, well, I haven't, but they're both on their phones on there, so I'm assuming there's service out here, which I guess is good if something happens, but Hey girls. Yeah, Dad, they both hollered. Are you guys gonna come out? Like, it's pretty nice out here. It's nice and cool. Like, you're gonna spend the whole weekend laying in bed in the motorhome? Yeah, maybe. We're just playing around in here. Okay. I'm gonna grab a fishing pole, go down and try to see test my luck down there at the lake. Do either of you want to try to fish with me? No, that's as much fun as that sounds, Dad. I think we'll stay here. Michael shrugged. Okay, that's fine. So Michael took his pole and the small cooler, went down to the lake, dunked it in the water to fill it up with water, grabbed his little container of minnow, or little containers of bait, which he did bring some minnows, but he thought that worms might be a better option. So he baited his hook and cast his line out. He connected a bobber to it, so he could sit there and watch his line, and as soon as the bobber would disappear into the water, he would know that he had a fish on his line, and then it'd be time to reel it in. So he cast his line out, grabbed his drink, and sat down in a lawn chair on the side of the shore. After sipping on his beer for a few minutes, he glanced out, saw the bobber start bobbing up and down, and then it disappeared under the water. Holy shit, I think I caught something. He jerked the line and started reeling it in. He grabbed the net, and as the fish started to appear on the surface near the shore, he used the net and swooped it up. Ooh, look at that, a catfish, she said. Got a hold of the fish and undid the hook from its mouth and put the fish in the cooler in the water. Baited his hook again, threw his line back out. Sat back down and started sipping on his beer again. He'd been sitting there for quite a few minutes. Seemed like at least 15, 20 minutes, to the point where he was getting so relaxed that he didn't even realize he'd started to doze off. And he was woken up when he started to feel a tug on his pole. Not only had the bobber disappeared under the water, but the fish that was on it was tugging at his pole, so his pole almost slipped out of his hand. He woke up as he felt like he literally had almost lost the pole, and he caught a good grip on it again. Wiped the drool off his face and started reeling in the fish. Ooh, a rock bass. He fished for probably another half hour or so, catching about 4 or 5 other fish, a couple more catfish, and 2 more rock bass. And then he packed up he secured his hook to his pole so it wouldn't catch on him or anything. Folded up his lawn chair, and then dragged the cooler back to the campsite where the motorhome was. As he approached the motorhome, Margaret looked up at him from where she was sitting in her lawn chair. So how'd it go? I got half a dozen. Probably about 4 catfish and 2 rock bass. Oh, cool, Margaret said. So yeah, I'm gonna leave them in the cooler in the water for now, and then we could just, a little bit later we can clean them or whatever, and anything that if we're obviously, we're here all weekend, so I don't know if we should freeze them or if we should clean them and basically just wrap them and refrigerate them, so that way we can fry them up for you and I or whatever over the weekend. Margaret was like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Thankfully one of the grocery items I made sure to pack was cornmeal, and we have eggs in there, so I can definitely batter them up and fry them and stuff. I wish we only had the ingredients for hush puppies, because that'd be pretty awesome. But that'd be a lot of work in this small kitchen, this motorhome. Yeah, you're right. That'd be a lot of work. So it was starting to get dark, and Michael hollered into the motorhome. Hey girls. Yeah, Dad. They hollered. Hey, why don't you guys grab the marshmallows and the graham crackers, and let's get a fire going out here. Do some s'mores, and we'll tell you, maybe we could do some stories. What kind of stories? Lexi hollered out. Oh, some maybe some ghost stories or something. Tell you I'll just come up with some random spooky story for you guys or whatever. See if I can actually scare you or whatever. Oh, Dad. Riley laughed. You're not really that great. Your stories are kind of weird, Dad. Michael just gasped. What do you mean my stories are weird? I mean they're okay, Riley said. You always come up with stories that have these weird events that happen or whatever. And I don't know. It's just weird. Margaret was they are a little odd, huh? You're kind of, your creativity, you can be very creative, but they're just kind of you're definitely a sci-fi. You would definitely be a good sci-fi author. Michael laughed, really? Okay, so is that you guys saying you don't want me to tell you a story? And they were like, no, that'd be let's do it, Dad. All right, well then quit complaining and grab the freaking marshmallows and bring them out here. Let's go. All right, we're coming, Lexi said. So they all got pulled up their chairs around the little fire pit that they had brought with them. They loaded it up with wood and had the fire burning bright. By this point, the sun had just barely gone down to where it was dark, but the sky had a little bit of light in it still. It was enough to where they couldn't quite see the moon yet. All right, guys, let's grab our s'more. Let's grab our, first before I start the story. Let's go and get our s'more started. That sounds good, Riley said. I want 2 of them. Me too, right? Lexi said. Or, me too, Riley said. All right, well, we have a lot of, don't worry, guys. We have plenty of chocolate. We have plenty of marshmallows. And there's a couple boxes, at least, of the graham crackers, so I'm pretty sure we're okay. All right, guys, go ahead and let's grab our s'mores. Let's sit down and let's get ready. I think I might have a good one for you. So as the girls sat down or start taking bites into their s'mores, Michael rubbed his hands together and started to think. All right, he said. So, once upon a time, there was a young woman in the woods. She had been wandering for days, unsure wherever she was. She remembered waking up in the middle of the forest and wasn't sure where she'd previously been. Whenever she would stop, because she was running, and no matter how much she ran, she didn't know, where she was going. She didn't know, she didn't even know where she was. And the scary part was that anytime she stopped for too long, she heard what sounded like very faint voices around her. Riley shuddered. Michael's like, "You okay, kiddo?" Riley's like, "Yeah, I'm fine, Dad." It's just like, I can already tell that this is gonna be like, I'm gonna have the hair standing up listening to this story. Michael's like, "You want me to stop?" She's like, "No." Okay. So he continued. So every time she stopped, she would hear voices, but they were very faint, almost like they're in the distance, but yet it was very confusing because it sounded like the voices were off in the distance, but she also felt like they were really close too. So she didn't understand how that could be possible, because how could he be very far off but also really close? And if she stopped for too long, it seemed like the voices only got louder, and they were never all in the same direction. If she stopped for too long, she would hear a voice from one side that sounded like it was 50 yards off. "What are you doing? Oh my God, what the heck?" She'd say to herself. She'd take a few steps and stop for a minute again. She's like, dark by this point, and she, of course, is scared out of her mind, but she couldn't see anything, so she didn't even know if she'd been walking in circles or if she'd been actually going in a straight line. For all she knew, she was basically circling around everywhere that she had already been. "Watch out!" She heard a voice from the other side. This time she's freaking out. It's like she looks one direction towards the one voice that she heard, and then she looks off to the other side towards where the other voice came from. "Hey!" She heard a voice come from behind her. She flipped around. Now she's looking off to one side where she heard the one voice, then she's looking off to the other side, and then she's looking behind her. And as she's looking behind her, "What are you doing?" She heard, coming from the direction she had been walking initially. Suddenly she's spinning circles, as she's walking, but she's spinning around in circles, looking in all different directions. And now she's disoriented because she's hearing voices from all around her, and she is now even more terrified than she was before. This time Lexi shuddered. Michael kind of grinned and chuckled a minute. "What about you, kiddo? You want me to stop?" Lexi's like, I don't know, you're kind of freaking me out, but Michael's like, "Well, I mean, you guys could go grab those freaking life-size teddy bears you guys brought. Go grab those and snuggle with those." "All right, I'll go get them," Riley said. Riley ran into the motorhome and grabbed the teddy bears they both brought and tossed Lexi's to her and grabbed her own, and they both sat in their individual chairs, basically, squeezed them tight. And Michael looked over and grinned as he could barely see the top of Riley's head and her eyes peering at him from over the head of the teddy bear. All right, well, good, you guys? Yeah, Dad, we're good. Okay, so Michael continued. So, the young woman, we'll call her Ruth. Ruth had just barely turned 21 years old and had gone out with friends partying a night or so prior to that. And then the last thing she remembered was they arrived at their cabin. And then next thing you know, she woke up in the woods. No cabin in sight, nothing but trees as far as she could see. And had no idea which direction to go. Realized very quickly that all she had on her, she was in basically a short skirt. She did have sandals on, and she had a red sweater that she was wearing. But she was pretty scraped up from walking through the woods, and she was definitely very confused. She didn't know where she was, how she got there, what had happened, like what thoughts are going through her head, like what happened to my friends, like where are they at, like why am I here, why am I alone, what happened, and so she decided to keep walking in the direction she was walking. And as she did, of course, she heard another voice, only this time it was coming from the direction she was walking. What are you doing? But it's very faint, to where it sounded like it was off in the distance. But again, she also felt like it was closer than it sounded. And of course, she immediately stops, and her heart stops. Her heart catches in her throat. And she starts to sweat. She immediately starts hyperventilating, thinking like, I don't know which direction to go, because maybe if I go back, she turns around and go and in that same direction. As she turns around, hey, she stops again and literally, she's totally freaking out by this point. She doesn't understand, what are these voices? What is going on? Why are they, what's the point? What are they trying to do? Why are they trying to, are these ghosts? Are these, spirits trying to scare her? What's going on? She was totally in panic mode, totally had no idea what to do. And she thought about it. She goes, well, I wonder if I try to turn to the side, walk that way, I bet I'm going to hear something. And she barely starts to turn that direction. And like, what are you doing? She stops again. Oh my God. So now she's just standing there, and she's turning and looking all different directions, looking in front of where she was walking, looking behind her, looking off to the side, back in front again. She ended up getting dizzy because she was spinning around in circles too much and basically made herself dizzy. So she sat down there on the ground. And then all of a sudden, she heard a gasp. Whoa! Suddenly, she just starts crying, sobbing hysterically while sitting there on the ground, because now she's terrified. She doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know, and it's dark. She can't see anything. All she could see in the darkness are trees in every direction. She can't see any lights at all, not even a moonlight. There's no moonlight where she's at. There's no house lights where she's at. And then she thought about it for a second. She realized there's not even, other than the voices that she's been hearing, there's no sounds. She's not even hearing any birds chirping, but of course it was nighttime, so she figured that made sense. But she didn't hear any crickets or anything chirping in the distance. And that if we're in the woods, there must be insects or whatever, And so, that really made her feel pretty even more confused. Cause I'm in the forest. There should be, usually there's nighttime sounds, But so she's like, oh man, I don't know, I can't just sit here. I can't just stay here. I gotta keep trying to go somewhere. I don't know where to go. I need to walk in some direction. And as she went to stand up, and she felt a pain in her leg, and she felt it with her hand and realized that her leg had a pretty big gash on it. That she was bleeding. What the heck? Because when she felt it with her hand, she had that spike of pain that happens kind of like when you put salt in a wound or when you try to clean out a wound. She felt it and it had that stabbing pain that happened. And she's, ow! What the hell, Ed? What? So next thing she realized when she stood up, she's gonna try to walk some more, but this time she's limping because now she feels the pain in her leg, and she's like, was that cut always here? Like, because she had noticed it before. She'd been walking for a while, and in the dark, but hadn't really noticed anything. I mean, yeah, she grazed against a couple of trees, but she hadn't really didn't feel like any of them did any damage, like they cut her or anything. So she didn't know if that was like something from one of the trees that she grazed against, or if she had been cut like that for a while. And was she bleeding the whole time? Because she's like, oh man, because she felt it with her hand, because she couldn't see it because there was no lights, but she could make out that when she felt it and looked at her hand in the dark, that there was blood on her hand, but she couldn't see how bad the cut was. All she knew is that she had this warm feeling running down the side of her leg. And she's like, oh crap. You gotta move. Heard from a different direction. Oh my god. Hello? Is anyone there? You guys can come out. Silence. So she stood up slowly, looking all around her and stuff, not sure what to do, and trying to decide which way to walk. And she was terrified no matter which direction she chose. Because no matter which way she chose, she had heard a voice in every single direction. And it wasn't a voice that sounded like a human voice. These were voices that sounded like they were probably ghosts. But then when she would think about it, she would tell herself, like, yeah, but the ghosts aren't real. It's in my head. I'm probably just dehydrated. My friends are probably playing a prank on me, something, So she got up and she started walking in that direction. Where are you going? She heard, oh my gosh, she took off running. And she ran probably for a good 20 seconds. Bam! Next thing you know, she's waking up on the ground. What the heck? Her head, she felt like she had a splitting headache. She felt like she had broken her nose. And she now felt like she had blood running down the side of her face. She glanced around and realized that she had run into a tree in the dark. Unfortunately, she hadn't been able to see it because of the dark. And so when she smacked into it, it basically knocked her out cold. Basically gave her a nice gash on her forehead. Thankfully, even though her nose felt like it was broken, she hadn't broken it. So she slowly got back up to her feet and decided, okay, I'm just going to walk because I'm going to hurt myself really bad if I run into another tree. So I'm going to try to be careful. I'm going to try to keep moving forward. So this way, she heard off to the side. This voice, even though she gasped and jumped back, that voice sounded different. She thought, like that one didn't sound like the others. Sound like they were more like trying to scare me. This one sounded like maybe it was trying to help. Hello? This way. She heard again in that same direction. She glanced around in all the different directions. She started to take one step towards the direction of that voice, and the voice behind her off in the distance. Don't go. Ah! Again, she started to run towards the direction of the voice that she thought was trying to help her. She realized in the dark she saw a figure in the darkness that she had rapidly materialized before her, and she realized at the last second it was a tree that she hadn't seen. And she managed to just barely stop in time to not fully hit it head on, but she smacked the right side of her body against it, and she still fell to the ground. Oh my god, I freaking hurt. What? Okay, I can't run in here anymore. I can't run. Like, man, I'm gonna hit one of these trees one of these times, and I'm just gonna like break my neck or something. I gotta, to keep it together, Ruth. Keep it together, she would tell herself. Like, I just keep calm. Like, you're gonna figure out how to get out of here. You're gonna make it back to your friends. You're gonna be okay. No sooner had she finished telling herself that, she heard what sounded like an evil laugh off in the distance behind her. What the fuck? She said to herself. She got up and quickly started walking in the direction of the voice that had said, "This way." Again behind her in the distance. And off to one of her sides. "You'll never make it." Oh my god. At this point, she's trying to. The tears are free flowing. She's trying to keep it together. She's panicking because she feels like there's probably one spirit or whatever it is out here. At this point, she doesn't know if these are people playing pranks on her. She has a feeling that they're actual ghosts or evil spirits that are basically just tormenting her out here, but she doesn't know because she can't see anything. But by this point, she's feeling like these other voices are these other spirits or whatever are trying to keep her there. They're trying to keep her lost. They're not gonna let her out. And she's panicking because she's like starting to think about her friends and her family, and thinking about, oh my god, like the other day I told my parents, when we had that fight, I told them I hated them, and what if I don't make it home? Like, what if I don't see him again? She started bawling, tears just pouring down her cheeks, and she finally told herself again, "Ruth, oh my god, get together, you're fine, you're gonna make it, like you're gonna see your friends and family again, you're gonna get out of this forest, you just don't give up, just don't listen to those voices back there, this way," she heard again coming from the direction that she was facing. All right, I'm coming. Don't keep, where are you at? What, like, tell me where to go. This way. She heard very faintly again in that direction. So she again just kept moving that direction. Off behind her. She tried to tune it out. Tears were free flowing. She was on beyond terrified. So scared that she just couldn't stop crying, but she was determined that she was going to get out. Something, as she was walking towards the voice that had called to her, telling her to come that way, something made contact with her on the side and shoved her. She went flying 10 feet, hit a tree, and fell down to the ground. Oh, wow, what the hell? She looked around but didn't see anything in the dark. She's like, something. She goes, I very clearly felt a freaking hand hit. Felt like a fist hit me in the shoulder and sent me flying. Oh man, God! And she screamed out in the distance, "Leave me alone!" Thinking that maybe, if it was spirits, that maybe if she yelled at them to leave her alone, that maybe they would. All of a sudden behind her again, "You're never gonna get out of here." Oh! She dragged herself to her feet and kept going. As she went about another 100 yards, "This way," she kept hearing in front of her, very faintly, so it almost sounded to her like the voices like getting further away. And she's like, "No, where you, like, please come back, like, I'm scared. This way." She kept hearing in front of her. And so as she kept going, another voice on the side, "You're never gonna get out." Oh my god. So, "What's going on? What do you guys want? Leave me alone." She would holler out in the distance. Like, "Leave me alone. This way, hurry." "Oh, okay, I'm coming." This time she started running again. all of a sudden, as she ran in the distance in front of her, as she's following that direction where the voice was telling her this way, all of a sudden she started to see what looked like a couple of random lights that were shining all off in the distance. One was off to her right a little bit, and one was off to the left. And they, as she got closer, she started to think that they looked like flashlights. And then as she got closer, she heard Ruth, are you here? Oh my God! Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Behind her, very faintly. You're not leaving us. Oh my God, guys, help! Ruth, we hear you. Where are you? I'm here. Ruth, come to our voice. Come towards our voice. We can hear you, but we can't tell which direction you're in. I'm coming. Hits another tree and collapses. A couple of minutes later, she wakes up again on the ground, looks around, and she doesn't see those lights anymore. She stands up and kind of like looks all around her. She doesn't know, like, she's trying to remember, trying to figure out which direction she was initially going, because everything is so dark around her. She's not hearing any sounds or voices around her. She's not seeing the lights off in the distance, so she doesn't know exactly if she's facing the right direction or if she's facing away from it. So hollers out in the distance, "Hello, guys! Guys! This way!" She hears again, but this time it's literally it's behind her. So she figures that maybe she had woken up facing facing the other direction. Come here. But this voice is off in the direction that she's facing. Immediately she gets a little bit of her heart skips a beat. She gasps and she turns around and heads very quickly, starts walking towards the voice that told her to come this way. Guys! She hollers. All of a sudden she again sees lights off in the distance a little bit. Very faint lights. She can barely see them, but she sees them. Guys! Very faint. Ruth, can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. Ruth, where are you? I'm over here. She keeps walking towards the voices. I can hear you, but I can't tell which way you're coming from. Ruth, keep coming towards my voice. I'm coming. This way, hurry. We're not getting out, she hears from behind her. Tears start flowing down her cheeks again as she's even more terrified, seeing that she's pretty sure this is her friends she's seeing, her group of friends that she's seeing up ahead with the flashlights, probably out looking for her. But then she has these other voices around her that are trying to keep her there. Ruth, where are you? I'm here. All of a sudden, the lights turn towards her and they start bobbing up and down very rapidly and she realizes that it's the friends holding the flashlights are running in her direction. All of a sudden, her two friends, Simon and James, pop out from the trees like, "Oh, Ruth! Oh my God, are you okay?" They both ran over and hugged her really quick. Like, "Oh my God, you're all beaten up. Like, oh my God, you're bleeding. What happened to you?" I don't know, Ruth said. Like, what happened? What happened? Like, last thing I remember, we're getting to the cabin, and then next thing I know, I'm waking up in the middle of the woods, and I've got this cut on my leg. It won't stop bleeding, and I ran into a tree. That's why I've got this cut on my head that keeps bleeding. And I've been hearing voices, like very scary voices off in the woods, voices. What do you mean? Simon said. Well, like voices like saying like either weird, evil sounding laugh or like you're never gonna get out or whatever. And the only way I managed to find you guys was there was one that came from the direction you guys were that said this way, and all the other ones scared me. This one sounded like it was trying to help me, so I decided I would go that way, and then I started to see your guys' flashlights in the distance. Simon was like, "Oh man, I'm so glad, because like we've been looking for you for hours. Like, you disappeared. Like we got to the cabin, And after we had some dinner or whatever, you said you're gonna go take a nap, and so me and so the two of us, we went and we were playing some video games or whatever. And when we had we went to check on you and you were gone, and we had we didn't even you couldn't have gone out the front door because that was right next to where we were, but your window was closed, so we don't know we wonder how you got out of the house or out of the cabin without us realizing. We're just like, that's really weird. Can we please get out of here? Because I'm come back. The voice came from a little deeper in the woods, off the direction that she'd walked. Rue's like, gulps. Did you hear that? Simon's like, holy shit, you're right. I thought you were making that shit up. Let's go. So they got back to the cabin, locked the door, and they were sitting there. And their other friend went to go get more firewood, so Simon was sitting there talking with Ruth. It's like, oh, man, I thought maybe you were hearing stuff when you told me that you heard voices, but then I heard that. I very clearly heard that. See, I wasn't making that shit up. So I don't know, is there? I was like, man, have you ever heard of this forest being haunted or anything? Because I thought, I've never heard about that. And Simon was like, no, I mean, I've never heard of being haunted, but I have heard of people coming out here and telling some crazy ass ghost stories. But maybe these ghost stories were true. I don't know, but maybe there's a lot of spirits in that forest that if you end up alone in the forest that at night or whatever, maybe it's just one of those things, so. Yeah, well, thank you so much for searching for me, because if I hadn't seen your guys' flashlights, I don't know if I would have ever found you guys, because I couldn't see anything. Every direction I looked pretty much looked the same. It was pitch black. All I could see were trees in the darkness, and all I was hearing, and the only thing I was hearing, all I was hearing were the voices that were calling out from different directions and basically scaring the shit out of me. Oh man, I'm just, you're scaring me. Just tell me about it, Simon said. So Ruth broke down crying. Simon comes over like, are you okay? And she's like, no. So he sits down and puts his arm around her and holds her for a few minutes with her crying in his shoulder. It's gonna be okay. We're safe here. He's grabbing some firewood. We've got, we could cook. We could cook inside tonight, because I don't think any of us wants to go back out there in the dark right now. Ruth just kind of laughed a minute with wiping a tear away from her cheek. Yeah, you're right. I don't really want to go out there right now. I think, can we please, when it's daylight, can we please go? Can please go home? Because I don't want to be here. I don't know what happened. And her friend came in and, was like, hey guys, hey Simon, I did hear something one time about somebody who came out this way, and they were with a friend, and they said they watched their friend after going to take a nap. They watched their friend kind of get up out of bed, and they're in their nightgown, and they literally walked out the front door and didn't say a word, and the friend followed them and noticed that they deliberately walked into the tree line as if they're going to go into the trees. And as they started to partially disappear into the trees, they hollered for their friend, and their friend all of a sudden, it's almost like they woke up. He saw a little shadow all of a sudden leave, looked like it left their body, and the friend looked up and looked around and looked back towards the cabin, like they were all confused, and ran back to them what happened? What am I doing out here? Simon was like, really? I've never heard that. My friend was like, yeah. So maybe that's what happened. Maybe there's spirits out here that will possess you and take you into the woods, and basically they then let go, release you, and basically just then the spirits in the forest can torment you or something. Wow, that's really fucked up, man. Simon said. Ruth, all of a sudden, she's crying again. Simon, holds her tight. So why don't we? I think we should. I don't think any of us should be alone tonight. I think we should all stay out here in the main room. we do have the small TV that we brought with us. You know, let's throw on some DVDs. Let's pop some popcorn, make some dinner or whatever. Let's just hang it. We got the alcohol in here. Let's go ahead and just you know, we'll all sit on the couch and make sure that we all keep each other safe for the night until, and as soon as it's daylight, we'll go ahead and pack up and get out of here. Bruce like that. That sounds great. Thank you so much. You know, I don't want to be here any longer than we have to. You know, because for all I know, like I'm gonna go to sleep and wake up out in the woods again. Simon held her hand. No, we're not gonna let that happen to you. You know, you're safe with us. You're not gonna, you know, nothing's gonna happen. He looks over at their friend. He's like, right? He's like, damn right. So for the rest of the night, they put on their favorite movie, pop some popcorn. He cooked up some food for dinner and basically just hung out and waited for the sun to come up to where they felt like they could safely go back outside again. And as soon as it was daylight, they packed up their SUV with their stuff and took off. And the spirits that Ruth had heard, Ruth always had assumed after that point that they must have still been in the woods, because she never returned to that forest again, and she never heard any of those voices ever again. And they were always safe and lived happily ever after. The end. So what do you think about that, guys? Dad, Michael, you know, said, kind of like laughing. Both Riley and Lexi were basically just like completely hidden behind their teddy bears at this point. Lexi peeked up over the back of the teddy bear. Oh my God, Dad! Like you really love your scary stories, don't you? Michael was like, yeah, you know it. Margaret was like, holy crap, babe! Like, man, like you had the hair on my arm standing up. You had to tell a story about a freaking about, you know, haunted forest. We're out here in the woods, huh? Didn't you? Michael laughed. Yep, I couldn't resist. So anyway, guys, you guys ready to hit, like, I think we should call it a night, because I know, like, hell, me telling the story, I was kind of giving myself chills, because, you know, like, oh, so you scared yourself, huh, Dad? No, I wasn't scared. Nah, men don't get scared, Michael said. Margaret laughed. Whatever, babe, whatever. Yeah, Dad, you know, you totally get scared too. Don't lie. Michael's like, all right, fine, whatever. You guys, you know, let's get everything, you know, let's get everything packed back in the side of the motorhome, and let's go ahead and lock everything up, and let's head to bed and call it a night, guys. All right, cool, let's go. So another day at the lake with catching some more fish and hanging out with the fam. Michael didn't recommend any more ghost stories for the weekend. After that first story, he basically figured that, yeah, they'd had enough. So after spending the next day at the campsite, they woke up Sunday morning and decided it was time to go ahead and hit the road, head back towards home. Time to get back to their regular lives. Time for the kids to go back to school the next morning. Time for Michael and Margaret to go back to work. Michael looked over at Margaret as they're driving down the road in the motorhome. It was like, you know, like, my dream retirement would be to probably, like, I mean, obviously I want to, you know, I love our house, but my dream retirement would be to be able to travel and something like this, like, full time, just go see the country, go see friends. Margaret was like, yeah, sounds kind of cool. You know, I don't know if I'd want to live in the motorhome permanently though, but I could see that. Michael was like, yeah, I mean, we could still stay at hotels and, you know, rent houses and change it up a little bit, but, you know, it's pretty nice in here. Like, nice and luxurious. The beds are pretty nice. Obviously, we have a kitchen in here, the bathroom. You know, some of the RV parks that we could stop at, you know, for a night or for a week have like pools and showers and stuff that we can utilize, and restaurants attached to them. And Margaret was like, "Really? I didn't know that." Michael was like, "Yeah, that's what I've heard. Like my parents and my grandparents used to travel with RVs quite a bit, and then I traveled with them for a little bit one summer when we went to Niagara Falls and then to Yellowstone National Park." Margaret was like, "I didn't know you went to Yellowstone." Michael was like, "Yeah, it was pretty cool." I was like, "But I made the mistake of because the motorhome that they rented, it was a Class C motorhome that had the bunk over the driver's area." And so what was cool about it is you could lay up there in the bunk, and it had a window up front, so you could lay up in the bunk and watch the road out in front. But the only downside to being up there was there's no vents up there, so if you close the curtains and it's cold, then you're blocking the heat from getting in there. So one night when we were parked at one of the campsites in Yellowstone, I had the curtain closed, and I hadn't, I didn't get any heat. So in the middle of the night, I woke up and basically I was seeing my breath. It was that cold up in front, so I had to open the curtains a couple feet just so that I would get like the heat coming in there, and I was able to go back to sleep, and it warmed up in there. Margaret was like, I could definitely picture you. I could definitely see that. Arriving back at home, they unloaded all their stuff. Got laundry started doing laundry, and Michael started putting together his meal prep stuff for his work week, because he would always take meals, like ready-made meals, with him when he'd go out in the truck for his week every day. And at truck stops that he would park at, he would have food to heat up, so that way he was trying to save money and not order takeout all the time. And Margaret would go back to her pastry chef job for the week and continue basically doing the things that she had to do. The next morning, they all gave each other hugs, told each other they loved each other. And Michael looked at the kids like, "So did you guys have fun this weekend?" Lexi and Riley laughed. Like, "Yeah, we did." And I was like, "Story still has us freaked out a little bit, but we had fun." Michael was like, "That's good." "Yeah, sorry, I didn't. I mean, yeah, I was like, that story was just something I was just making up off the top of my head, so sorry it scared you guys, but you know how I am." Like, "Yeah, I know, you enjoy, those are the kind of stories you like to tell, Dad, All right, well, you guys have a good day at school, I love you, and I'll see you tonight when I get off work, when I get back after doing my load in the truck." "All right, Dad," they said as they gave him another hug and headed down to the bus stop. Went to the kitchen with Margaret, and she handed him his cup of coffee. "Thank you, my love," he said as he took a sip. "So, back to it today, huh?" Margaret said. "Yeah, sadly." "Well, don't worry. One of these days, I know you'll figure out you'll figure out these side gigs you're working on, and be able to get yourself out of the job, and you'll be able to help me with my food truck, and we'll be able to travel, maybe buy a motorhome and travel a lot more." Michael's like, "Yeah, I can't wait. It's gonna be cool. You know what I was saying? We only fail if we quit, give up, or walk away. So all we have to do, my love, is keep moving forward." "Yep, that's right," Margaret said. "Cheers," he said as he held up his coffee cup. "Cheers," she said as they clanged their cups together. "All right, well, love, have a good day at work. Don't hurt your shoulder too bad doing all those donuts, and I will see you tonight." "All right, love. See you later." Michael headed off to work, and Margaret headed off to start doing her desserts. As the months went by after that trip, they made all their plans for more trips that they would take. Not just camping trips, but other trips to go visit family. And Michael continued making plans and working on stuff on the side to continue working towards his goals to get them to where he wanted them to be. Eventually, he did get things figured out. He got Margaret her food truck. He got him retired from his job, and was able to set things up for his kids the way that he'd always dreamed. From here, all they could do was keep pushing forward. From here, all they could do is just enjoy the time they had together as a family, and make the most out of life. And they live happily ever after. The end. Welcome back, guys. And I'm gonna be curious when I listen after I get this posted. I'm very curious how it sounds, because when telling the story and basically just literally, I hope you guys liked it, because literally I was just literally making that up off the top of my head. Because you guys know me by now with the Storytime Fridays. I am a storyteller, but most of the time, up until this Friday, when I've told a story, I've actually gotten it written out. And so this is kind of interesting, where I wanted to do it, but I was like, I don't know if I can pull it off, because the problem with telling a story off the top of your head, making it up on the fly, is you might come up with names for the characters on the fly, but then for instance, towards the end of that story with the friends that managed to actually find and save Ruth, I know I said Simon and I said another name for the other friend, but getting towards the end of that story, my mind blanked. I'm going, what did I call the other character again? And I didn't want to say different names, so that's why I said their friend. So I was trying to work with what I had, the details that I had come up with that I could remember. But anyway, y'all, this is me trying to push forward and trying to give you guys a Storytime Friday post, which I know that, if I can't get one written, then maybe it would just be a Real Talk Tuesday episode. But if, maybe worst case, if I don't get one written, maybe I could try to do a freestyle one for you again. That way there's a Storytime Friday story for you that's original, that's unique, because, it's just me coming up with something, and give you guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, Obviously, if I wrote it, I would have been able to polish it up a little bit, make it sound a little bit better, because it's, when you're trying to come up with details on the fly or whatever, it's a little harder to make everything sound perfect, But as a storyteller, I hope you guys did enjoy it. But anyway, guys, in closing this episode out, because it's really long, but hey, you guys get a long story or whatever. I will throw a few things out there. If you're not familiar, if you're new to this podcast, by the way, guys, my name is Chris Blodgett. I'm your host. Usually, and basically what I'm trying to work back to is what we're able to do is we have Real Talk Tuesdays every Tuesday, and we have Storytime Fridays on Friday, where your host, myself, I'm a writer, aspiring author. I don't have a book written yet, but I do a part of one. I have several writing projects. I have a book that I started back in 2011 that I got a lot written for, and I went back to it recently and started to continue writing, adding more to it. And eventually, maybe for Storytime Fridays, once that book is completed, maybe I will start reading that book bit by bit for the Storytime Fridays to work my way through the book so you guys can hear the story yourself. Plus also, obviously, sell it and, stuff like that, publish it and all that fun stuff. But otherwise, and I know one thing that I was thinking about while I was doing this freestyle story was, I wonder if I can get it transcribed so that I can have a written copy of the story I just told. Because every other story I have saved in my MacBook, because it's, obviously I wrote it, so it's saved in a Word document, all that fun stuff. But anyway, for anybody new out there, if you're not familiar with it, this podcast show does have a website. It's blodgettshow.com. There's 3 links on there for the platforms. It's published on a lot of different platforms, but the 3 main ones that I have listed on the site are Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. So they have those 3 links. There's a contact button that you can click to send me an email if you have any suggestions for any kind of stories that you want me to try to see what I can come up with. Which obviously, if you gave me ideas, I'd probably try to focus on those stories while writing on the computer, so that way I can get something put together in written format that would sound a little better. So I'm not just coming up with it on the fly, even though I can try that too. This is me trying something new, because I don't want to have too many weeks where I just have Real Talk Tuesday. I want to give you guys a Storytime Friday, because again, like, I'm doing everything I can to try to expand and grow on this podcast, to try to grow my listener base, and get make this podcast eventually be a huge success. So on that note, as far as that goes, if you guys did enjoy what you heard tonight, especially if you're new to this podcast and you want to support the podcast, at the very minimum, what I ask is that you like and follow, share with your friends, because that is one way that this podcast will continue to grow, is by getting new listeners. Anybody that wants to become a Patreon of this show, go to blodgettshow.com/support, or if you go to blodgettshow.com and you click the drop-down menu and you click the support link, it'll take you to the Patreon site, where there's the option to do a one-time financial contribution or a monthly contribution for as little as $1 per month. And I just want to say that any and all financial donations are appreciated, and thank you so much in advance. All those contributions will definitely go towards helping me to keep the hosting and any other expenses related to the show, helping me to keep the show active and stuff. There is a monthly cost to making sure I can keep the show published and all that fun stuff. But one other thing, if you go to blodgettshow.com/promotions, or again, the drop-down menu on the site, and click the promotions tab, and take you to another part of it. This is where I'll have a few things, anything that's like a way for random people to, kind of almost like side gig type stuff, or make a little money, without doing much. I'm gonna put, if I find stuff that's good or whatever, I'm gonna put that stuff on that promotion site. I still gotta add 2 things on there. So I have the one thing that I do have on there. It's 2 different promotions with the bank called Sophie. That's mostly an online bank, even though they do have they're working on, I guess, either they have at least one branch that they've opened, and they're working on obviously going to have open multiple like actual physical locations, but right now they're mostly an online branch. But they do have checking, savings, investments. I believe you can do things like IRAs and stuff with them, but they have like stocks and bonds and mutual funds, IPOs, which are the what they call it, initial, I believe, public offering, which is basically when a company goes public. And so anybody that has direct deposit with their Sophie checking, those customers get notified early when there's a IPO or whatever, and are given the option, because they don't know at that point how much the shares are going to be going for until they officially go public. So they give you the estimated, and they ask you how many, do you want to buy any shares. You basically have to announce your intent. Like, yeah, I want to buy like 5 shares, and then you have to make sure you have that much money in your, available in that account, so that way when it goes live, it'll do the purchase and you'll have the shares. But they have the promotions with that, and with the checking, it's like, if you become a new investment customer with Sophie and you fund your account, I think with like $10, I think they give you like $25 in like free investment money or whatever to do like new stocks or whatever. And if you have signed up and you share that promotion with others, they get 25 when they sign up and fund their account, and you get 50, I believe. And it's similar for the checking part, the checking and savings. If you get anybody that signs up with your Sophie account, they fund their account with $10, they get a $25 bonus added to their their checking account, and you get a $75 bonus. So it's pretty cool, little stuff like that. And then of course there's two other little side gigs that I'm involved in that I'm currently working on that are pretty cool. You know, one's called Accelerate, that I don't have the link off the top of my head because, you know, it's a little bit more difficult to remember. You know, like I literally have to go on my phone and probably go on my account and copy and paste it. So I'll have that link. I'll add that link on there underneath the Sophie links pretty soon. And then I'm doing this other one that's kind of a little side gig where you basically, there's pre-written advertisements. Some short ones you can do little small ad posts, and other long ones for like Craigslist or other sites where you can do like work from home side gig type stuff. It's a copy and paste ad business where you copy and paste these pre-written ads, and it's like $129 to actually get involved. And you literally, you know, as you're doing these sales, you're making $100 commission on each sale, whatever. So I got to get that link posted too, but that one I can't tell you off the top of my head. So like that one, there's a video. If you go to copyandpasteads.com/cblodgin. So if you go to that link, there's actually a video that talks about it. It's only like 4 or 5 minutes long. It's not that bad. And then to sign up and actually get a part of the business, basically it's like a $29 admin fee, then $100 to your sponsor that would come to basically to me. But there's a lot of stuff in the back office, a lot of resources that they give you, whatever, traffic sites, rotators, leads, funnels, capture pages, a lot of stuff. But then of course, like when you share that with others, then you're going to make $100 commission on that as well. So, and there'll be something else coming up here in the future too, but want to do at least share those with you guys. But at the very least, guys, I hope everybody enjoyed tonight's story. I appreciate you guys being here. I'm just grateful that I was able to actually get something recorded, to get a story for you guys. I'm gonna listen to it when it gets published. Basically, like I'll kind of critique myself, even though I've already recorded it. So it's not like I can change it. You know, it's not like I can go back and be like, actually, guys, here's a modification. Like, no, I can't do this out. But anyway, I appreciate you guys being here. I believe this is episode 77. Either we're an hour and a half in, so I'm kind of like thinking, all right, what's the next episode? So, on that note, all my regular sayings, you guys know that you know what I say. Keep being positive, keep believing, keep pushing forward. Believe you can, believe you will, and you're already halfway there. And then you just have to go out there and do it. And it's one of those things, guys, as far as like your dreams, it's better to keep trying and failing than to fail and give up. So even if it takes 5 or 10 years of working on something, hell, I've been like today, and I want to do this little shout out to my wife. As of today, we've literally today we celebrated our 17th wedding anniversary. Like, we've been married for 17 years. My wife was like, well, what I ordered for you is still coming. And I was like, well, I apologize, love, because my paycheck last week was like damn near nothing because of the week I took a couple of days off thinking I was taking PTO days, only to realize that I didn't have any PTO days. So I like $180 paycheck, when it's normally like $1,200-ish, you know, depending on how the week goes. So I said, so I apologize, love. I actually haven't been able to order anything yet because of the way the paycheck issues that we've been having recently. She said, that's fine. I was like, but that's why this morning when you went to work and I was coming home, I suggested, hey, why don't we go do Mexican or go to the Indian place for an anniversary late lunch before I go to work. She was, that sounds good. And then she came home and said, what about Buffalo Wild Wings? I was like, all right, that works too. So that was what we did. I love regular wings, you know, the bone-in wings, but it took me a while. Like, I don't know how you guys are, like, for me, I didn't do the bone ones for a while. I was always the boneless ones, but then within the past probably like 2 years, I did start doing the actual regular wings, the bone-in ones, or wingettes, as my bro Rico calls them. Honestly, when he said that, I had never heard that term. I always thought the small wings you get when you get wings at restaurants. I always thought that actually was what the wings are supposed to look like, but then I got regular wings. They were literally the full-on wing. I'm like, oh, okay. Now I got you. You know, because full-on wings are pretty huge. So if you get a dozen of those, you got a lot of wings. So, but anyway, guys, never give up. Keep pushing forward. Keep dreaming, guys. Always hold on to that hope. And always believe that, you know, someday you're going to get where you're going. And keep making the efforts to get there. Even if one thing fails, try something else. And I know, it's one of those things too. If those of you who might struggle with, like, if you struggle with some mental health stuff, I fully understand that. I have the same issue, and I'm better this week. I still feel it a little bit. For the last couple weeks, I've definitely had a little bit of a mental health issue, you know, because of the paychecks and the stress, the worry, and, you know, just, you know, being utterly tired some days because I won't get a call for a new load until like 11 o'clock at night. And the next thing you know, I'm getting home at like 10:30 the next morning. So you know, those days I'm really like stressed out because I'm overly tired because I just did basically a graveyard shift, got back late the next morning, and then still had to get up and work again that night. So this first couple days of this week, the only advantage to that when you get done at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night is the days go by really quick because you leave. I hit the road Tuesday night at 9 o'clock, and I got held up so much I didn't get back home until 11 the next morning. Got to bed by 12, got up at 9, went and ran my load, got up the next day. Before I knew it, I was already on day 3 of my week. I was like, well, you know, which I'm fine with because, hey, the faster the work days go for me, I'm one more week closer to achieving my goals or whatever, and I'm one more day closer that week towards enjoying my adult beverages at the weekend and trying to de-stress and unwind, you know, hanging out with the fam and all that stuff. So, anyway, I'll quit talking you guys' ear off. I appreciate you guys being here. Join me again on Tuesday, which will be, I believe, episode 78. On the next episode of Real Talk Tuesday. And then I'll do my best to try to see what I can do to make sure to have a story for you guys for next week's Storytime Friday. Worst case, we'll have at least a Real Talk Tuesday episode Tuesday, and then we'll go back to the next Tuesday. But I'm going to try, I'm still working on it, trying to get back in the groove, trying to get my head in the game, and get stories written so that way I have stuff to put on here for you guys for Storytime Friday. But if you're somebody who prays, feel free to pray for me and stuff, because I can use all the prayers I can get. If you need me to pray for you, drop me an email. Click that contact link on the website, or email me at lodgeshowpodcast@gmail.com, and just let me know. Hey, my name is John. I need, I'm having some rough time. Some prayers would be great. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll do it. But anyway, guys, on that note, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, and I will talk to you guys on Real Talk Tuesday. Have a good one.